Alright, everybody, welcome to Marlax 101 again, and we're going to go over a little bit of stuff starting off into the game that I think quite a few people overlook. You're not really forced into any one path with Star Citizen so far, and until they get the storyline into the game, you don't really have to go down a route of like just mining or anything else. That being said, I think there's ways to supplement, especially when you start off the game. So realistically, everyone's going to have smaller ships when they start off in the game. To save like quantum fuel and stuff like that, I think it's more important to stick around one planet, and then so you don't have to worry about having so much armor and stuff. It's better just to stay around the main planets. For me, I would say that probably the best starting off planet is Hurston. You could debate either way, whatever you want to do, but Crusader, I liked Crusader for a long time. Not a big fan of ArcCorp, but Hurston, I think, is probably one of the best planets when you really look at it. It has a very small orbit around here, so it can kind of close the distance between a couple of different jumps. And if you wanted to move away from Hurston, all you'd have to do is jump a short distance to like one of these middle tier stations, and you'd have basically the same distance to travel to most planets in the verse. But as before, ArcCorp doesn't have any underground areas yet. Maybe eventually it will, and that'll kind of change things. But for right now, Hurston is kind of this neutral zone between like good and bad. So you can kind of do a little bit of both if you want to be in multiple fields. It also has probably some of the better, ground mercenary missions and bounty missions. It has good armors and armors that people like, especially the Artemex. Lore-wise, they're the military force that builds some of the most powerful lasers and like warheads for missiles and things for the military. So it seems like a good place to get a lot of reputation and to earn good blueprints and stuff in the future. That being said, a lot of people when they come into the game, I mean, they go into one specific loop. And so we don't really have mining missions, right? And we don't really have, the craziest of salvage missions. You can go and you can salvage. If you don't like combat, then you can just do the base salvage missions. If you don't like combat, you can go and just mine on a planet's surface. But I think you get the most value when you actually mix combat in with some of these loops. And when it comes to mercenary missions, I think this becomes one of the most valuable things that you can do because you don't really require a specific ship to do a mercenary mission. All you require is your gun and just some FPS combat. Now, the payouts on some of these can also be really good, and you can get a lot of gear very quickly doing mercenary missions, especially in a group. So you can go and get Hurston security armor, rare loot, legendary gear, heavy armors, medium armors, light armors, flight suits, all that stuff, all the guns, grenades, everything else that you're going to want. The only thing with Hurston is that they don't really sell guns in the city. So you have to go up to the space station or something like that or find one on the ground, but that's, usually fine. You could do a bounty mission or something to do that. The reason I say that starting with the mercenary missions is kind of good is because even if you want to do mining or salvage, when you go to a mercenary mission, usually you can kind of scan outside of the area and you're going to end up finding mineral deposits and things that you can mine on the ground before you enter into FPS combat inside of the basically the red zone. And a lot of these missions as well, you'll have extra NPC ships that spawn outside of these bunker areas. So you'll have security ships or you'll have NPC pirate ships that'll be left in the zone after you get done with the mission. So technically, you could go and salvage those for free and get extra money off of it, or you could capture those ships and use them for yourself if you only have like an Aurora or something. Because there's a lot of times when you do like a mercenary mission in a bunker that there'll be like a pirate Cutlass Black or something setting outside. So that's a free, $100, $200 ship that you could have to use around in the verse and get extra cargo capacity as soon as the game starts. And from this, a lot of bounty missions and stuff, there's plenty of people that like bounty missions. And if you're good at them, you could do salvage and stuff with those. But with mercenary missions, you could just do You know, fly around in your vulture, fly around in your prospector. You don't necessarily need a combat ship to do a mercenary ground mission, which opens up so many doors to make extra resources as you play around with it. And since a lot of those ships actually do come with like small weapons on them, it makes them somewhat effective at ground combat because they're able to still do basically what every other ship does against people on the ground. But in bounty missions, things are a little bit more difficult, especially for a starter ship or a prospector or a vulture or something. You don't necessarily want to bring those into combat situations in space. And then when we look at harder combat missions, even solo FPS or like fighter pilots, they're probably not going to be able to do the bigger and badder bounty missions to make more and more money. So right now, if you're doing bounties or you're doing illegal contracts and stuff, eventually those ships go into like hammerheads and carracks and starfarers and stuff. And in the future, those ships are probably going to have more armor. The combat's going to be even more dangerous and stuff for a small ship. I wouldn't want to solo those. You're probably going to need a pretty big group to do those, or at least 4 or 5 people and fighters, support ships, something, or like some sort of bigger ship. So I don't really think it's viable exactly for people to just go and directly do those combat missions at the beginning of the game. And a lot of times the people doing those missions are doing it for the drugs, all right? They're trying to go and they're leveling up their ranks, and then they want to go do the big missions. They fight for like 20 minutes and then they do the drugs and they grab them and they stick them in their ship and they take off and sell them and they make a few $1,000,000. Well, as a starter player, you're not going to have the firepower to take out those big ships. You're probably not going to have the groups of people to take out those big ships. And mercenary missions offer you a simpler route to get the same sort of value to earn one of those bigger ships faster in the game. So, as we said, you go and do the mercenary mission. You're going to be able to get ground loot, ground items, good gear, good guns, ammunition, suits, all that stuff, which means that you're going to conserve money that you're going to have to buy on gear. You're not going to have to waste as much time trying to buy gear. And then on top of that, there's going to be NPC ships and stuff that are left outside, or player ships that are destroyed or left outside. That gives you salvage material. That gives you, options for other ships to commandeer to use for your own, benefit when the game comes out, even if you don't have a good ship. And then, even if you're using mining vehicles, you can mine outside of the combat zone before you land, and it gives you something to do to make money, and you're not just going on R&D of if you find those resources or not. Now, when it comes to the drugs and stuff, we'll look at this mission right now. A friend of mine wants to do some bounty stuff as well, but when it comes to mercenary missions, especially on Hurston, but mercenary missions on Hurston, you get quite a few of them. There's ones that have a lot of NPCs, there's ones that have space combat, there's ones, that just do illegal occupants. You can hunt down other players. All that stuff is good and well. Okay. And then on the unverified tab, you have a whole bunch of stuff on here as well, but you can get a crime stat for doing a lot of these. But there are missions in both sides that pop up every now and then. Usually you have to do a little bit of these missions on the hostile side first, but if you take down the comm array, you can do these without getting crime stat. But there are missions in the pirate side that are to take down rivals. And if you find one of those rival missions to stop other pirates from being able to make drugs to end up, competing with the people that you're working against here, you have access to drugs that you can go and sell. So not only do the illegal missions pay you like 50, 60K or whatever, but you also are able to stockpile the drugs that are left over after the mission is done and go make more money. And likewise, on the mercenary side, you have a similar mission that pops up, which is one that we have accepted right here. Eliminate contraband stash. Now, when you go and do this mission, it's an FPS mission. There are piles of drugs inside of the bunkers. And while the bunkers are here, because they might get rid of them in the future, you have to eliminate a certain amount of the drugs to complete the mission. So the skill set basically is a mixture of FPS, cargo, logistics, and you could potentially have your mining and salvage stuff on the opposite side. So even with the Vulture, let's say for instance, you go to the bunker, you do your FPS combat or whatever. Maybe there's a cutlass outside that you can salvage. There's hull scrape the cutlass black outside. Make however much off the RMC. And then when you do the mission, you're going to be able to sort through and destroy most of the drugs, but you get to pick and choose kind of what you want to take out with you. All of that's going to be able to fit on the Vulture anyway. And if you go and sell that, you can make 200, 300K off of that. So if we're looking, let's just take the Vulture for example. You're going to have a full loaded up cargo of RMC or whatever inside of the Vulture. 2 or 300K of drugs and stuff that you could sell. FPS gear and equipment and stuff that you could have on you from the mission. Unique and rare armors that you could get on you from the mission. Like elite armors or legendary gear, anything like that. And you're getting the 20K or whatever from the contraband stash. So what I would say also is that when you're fighting the NPCs in the game, because a lot of people might not be good at FPS combat, Star Citizen's a little bit spongy when it comes to bullets. So you pretty much are forced to trade shots if you're out in the open for the most part. You can't really just one-tap people unless you have a high-powered rifle. So snipers and other high-powered rifles are going to be very good the lower tier your armor is. So like light armor and stuff are going to be mobile, but you're going to need a high-powered rifle so that you don't get forced to trade shots, or you're going to need a good amount of cover. But the problem is that the NPCs will wrap around on you, and high-powered rifles don't have enough fire rate to necessarily keep them off of you. And if you do get snake up on, you're going to get taken out pretty quick. But these sniper rifles you can get pretty much in a lot of different bunkers and loot boxes and stuff. You're going to find these snipers laying around. If not, Jumptown and like Daymar can spawn quite a few of these as well. But getting a high-powered rifle at the beginning of the game is probably going to be pretty important. Hurston also is like one of the only places that sells all of the ammunition that you need for all of the different like high-powered guns in the game. Rail cannons, missile launcher ammo, sniper ammo, all that good stuff. So it's going to have everything that you need to keep yourself going as long as you don't die and lose your gear repeatedly. And that's pretty good for the most part. Now, if you're going to use light armor, what I suggest is when you're fighting, a lot of AI and a lot of games have like a timer that they fight and shoot at you. Star Citizen, they kind of lock on to you, but I don't know how long the de-aggro timer is, if there is one at all. But if you're behind cover and you're trading shots, instead of shooting and ta-da-ta-ta-ta-ta and shooting, you're going to end up getting shot back. There's a short delay before the NPCs will shoot at you when you pop out of cover. So when you go into cover, you'll figure out where the NPC is. You'll go into cover. You'll kind of like aim, pop up, shoot, pop down. Pop up, shoot, pop down. Pop up, shoot, pop down. And then kind of strafe behind your cover, pop up, shoot, pop up, shoot, pop up, shoot. If you just sit there and you hold down the trigger against multiple enemies, after like a second delay or whatever, they're going to start lighting you up and you're eventually going to take damage. In lighter armor, you can't really afford to get hit because any one of those rounds could basically cripple your arm. If you lose your arm, you're just going down for the most part. Now, as for a secondary thing, I'll show you this real quick. In my backpack here, and I would suggest you have a backpack and do this as well, I have a flight helmet. Okay, so starting off into the game, the flight helmet is going to allow you to fly in space and leave an EVA so that you can do space combat and space missions. Problem is that flight helmets don't have armor, or at least this one does not have armor. So when you're on the ground and you're doing FPS combat, you can get one-tapped in the face, and it isn't very good. So if you're fighting and you jump on the ground, you're going to get one-tapped. So until you get decent at combat, or even if you get decent at combat, you run the risk of a bullet just hitting you in the head randomly. I would suggest that you just keep one of these in your backpack. And as you can see, just anytime that you're going to go FPS, swap your helmet over, boom, you're good to go. Atmosphere, swap your helmet over, good to go. Alright. The light armor isn't going to help you a ton, but it is going to help keep you from getting one tapped in the face, which is reasonable enough against small arms fire. The flight helmet just doesn't really have that capability. However, we don't really need to waste a whole lot of money buying atmospheric helmets and stuff, because we're going to be able to get those in game by killing the NPCs that we do in the FPS missions, as well as bounty missions. So we'll do like a short narcotics thing. I'll kind of show you the gist of this, but just doing a few missions for security will unlock these missions for you.
You are clear to launch.
And it's a good amount of loot. It's a good amount of money to make, especially for a small group of people. And then also, FPS mission-wise, it's good because you don't really require any specific ship to really do the mission until they make it randomized and have like NPC ships randomly pop up and attack players around the area or something. There's not really that big of a penalty for using any kind of ship that you want. But the other benefit is that if you have a group of FPS players,
Landing gear up.
Thank you, and please visit again.
if you have a group of FPS players, you can use any ship that you want, and you don't have to be stuck in a turret all day. So it's up to you what kind of combat you like in the game, because you could make the same arguments for mining and stuff, I guess, technically, when it comes to space combat, but you're going to need certain ships. But this is the Cutlass Black. And so in this ship here, I could have 3 people in the main guns, and I could have 6 people in back seats, and I have cargo capacity. So that's a number of players that you don't have to risk your ship to do this in. And even things like the Avenger and stuff like that, they could also do this mission, just having a bit of cargo capacity. And these FPS missions here are pretty easy for a solo person to do, as long as you don't take a bunch of fire from the NPCs and you kind of, manage your time. But they're faster the more people that you get. So there is that. Um,
Quantum drive is now on. Quantum drive is now off.
Now my server has been lagging a good bit, so there's a possibility that we end up getting, tapped by something at some point, which is always good. But you can see right here, you have terrapin on that side. Looks like 2 terrapins. One of these terrapins are mine from another mission that we did earlier. Looks like there's another target there, though. It just won't let me lock it. Oh yeah, that was my body. Never mind. So I did a different mission that wasn't a drug mission earlier. And I ended up having a little mishap. It was the middle of the night, it was dark, and I got tapped in the back. But a lot of these missions, until they get the anti-air turrets and stuff on, you can just use your primary guns on your ships to actually deal with quite a lot of the ground forces. But you never really know exactly how many are on the ground. But I'm going to park the ship a little bit closer for this just because there's cargo that we're going to be loading up. Didn't really change your armor or anything, but essentially, a lag. Oh, damn. So with light armor standing out in the open right that is going to get you knocked out. But not a whole lot of options out here right now. I'm going to just try to rush inside. Try to rush inside and get in here. Fuck. And for these drug missions, I would suggest getting a knife. So I haven't been able to do any assassinations with the knives. I've tried. You're supposed to be able to, but I just can't get it to work for me. And they are absolutely terrible against anyone in armor if you try to just use them as a slash attack. So I wouldn't do that at all. But if they ever make the stealth attacks more consistent, I would say that this is viable to like go in and sneak up and stealth kill people, because I've stealth killed quite a few people. See, so you want to like pop up and down with the AI. They do shoot through the walls a little bit, and this is going to get worse in the future. But when you pop up and pop down, it takes them like a millisecond or something to like start shooting. So if you pop up and pop back down, they're going to end up shooting where you were instead of shooting where you are. So movement is kind of good there. But if you're not behind cover, you're going to have problems. He says that he's here, but I think he's not here. Oh. Teammates. Teammates. Alright. Might end up getting downed when we come in here, because we already got a tier 3, but we'll see. But I find having the high-powered rifle is pretty good. You clear out the outside of the bunker, then grab one of their closer FPS weapons. And you basically want to get a good amount of range against a lot of these guys. But this is where, like, having a, fuck. Where having a combat knife could be really good, because the NPCs inside of these bunkers have a patrol that they do. And there's usually 2 or 3 of them kind of patrolling in a similar path when you actually try and do this. And, if you could assassinate them, you could easily sneak up on them. If you can just use the melee attack for your weapon to do it, but it is a little odd. Usually there's more of them. And you kind of want to hang around the edges of the map, because if you're in the center, they can see you. Fuck. Yep. The server frames are getting me pretty bad. I think the mission glitched out, because this is the FPS gear that I had earlier. Has a cool backpack though. But you see, you can easily go in here and kill like some of these guys. There's heavy armor, there's medium armor, and a lot of these NPCs. So you can upgrade your gear from light and get you some clothing. Try and double check and see if I'm in the right spot. All right, so we went to the wrong we went to the wrong location. So me and him both fucked up. The fuck? Okay.
Engines online. Launch complete. Landing gear up. Quantum drive is now on.
Mm. These frame drops, man. A little rough. I don't know why I went there. Because I had the other mission selected, maybe?
Quantum drive is now off.
Jesus. But you can easily see how you could get a group together. Because say you got 5 people for these FPS combat missions. You can get like medical ships, you could get fighters or whatever else that you want and go and do these missions. You don't necessarily need everyone to have a specific grade of ship.
Docking initiated. Docking denied. Landing gear down.
God, I hate third-party flying.
Engines offline.
Okay. Now we can do the mission. Okay, my gun didn't go off for some reason. I wish you wouldn't double swing with that, but it's like Gears of War, man. Use cover or die, they say. Usually all these duct tape things I'll destroy. Oh, let me see if I can figure out how much the drugs sell for. I usually just grab the red, the white. I destroy the jugs. Let's see, Etrusitoxin. One SCU is 5,600. Yeah, I think we have to get rid of the uncut slam. Okay. So we need to get rid of the uncut slam. And then we had Widow. Okay. So I've been destroying the Widow, and that's what I've been needing to keep, I guess. So we need to get rid of the uncut slam. So get rid of everything that's green or held together with duct tape, basically. Okay. Let's look at, let's see, Trucitoxin is 5,600. Neon is 9,000. Okay. Yeah, so usually I'll destroy the Widow and keep the white pouches that were up top, and it'll complete the mission. And then you can make 200 or 300k. But this time, we're not going to complete the mission. We're just going to load up everything and see how much total that we can get. Just from doing all of this. Now, if the disposal center actually considers this complete, if we drop it off there, that would be great, to be honest. Multiply how much stuff that you have. It's off the books, you know. And it would make sense, like if I'm risking my reputation with the Hurston security or whatever, make the payout good, you know. See, this guy, me and him kind of are pretty good at making cargo chains to get things done pretty quick. Actually. So apparently each of these widows sell for like 3 times as much as the other ones did. But if you destroy the widows, it gives you enough to complete the mission. So I think that's the trade-off that you have. You either take everything and sell it all, or you choose good value stuff to destroy for the mission. I could very easily see this being timed in the future, like security's going to secure the area after a certain given amount of time and check and see if there's any drugs left. But you'll see from doing this that you know, even if you start the game with like an Aurora or something, you do like one of the mercenary missions while you're leveling up your reputation for this. That's not right. And eventually you'll find like a Cutlass Black or something on the ground. So all you have to do is like commandeer one of those and then get to this reputation, which doesn't take very long. And then you're set. You do a couple of these, you get a mill or so, buy your own Cutlass, and you just keep progressing. But all of the drugs that I destroyed for the mission, originally the duct tape ones and the uncut slam, you can't really sell or do anything with. So you see we got like 25% left on the mission. But the white ones that we destroyed are worth like 5,000. Whereas like the Widow is worth like 15 or whatever per SCU. Yeah, this is Trusatoxin. It's like 5,000. Yeah, fuck it. You can do it, put your back into it. I think my advice would be to put this on that side of the elevator.